Shalom Vracha from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. With the help of Hashem, we studied this evening in our continued studies of the chapters of the Fathers, of the ethics of the Fathers, Pirkei Avot. We are studying tonight Perek Sheni, Mishnah Dalet, Chapter 2, Mishnah 4, continuing the teachings of Rabban Gamliel, son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the very end of the period of the early rabbis of the Tanaim, and those following our teachings, those following our series. We've been spending weeks learning the great insights of Rabban Gamliel. As we mentioned many times, there were many people named Rabban Gamliel, many of them very closely related to each other. This is Rabban Gamliel at the very end of that era, at the end of the Mishnah period. Hu Haya Omer. And this is what he used to say. Hu Haya Omer. We've come across this expression in Pirkei Avot often. And I don't know who the first one who said this is, but I heard from my father, of blessed memory, many times. He was only quoting, but it left an indelible impression upon me. Hu Haya Omer can be translated as, he was what he said. Hu Haya Omer. There are some people, they say great things, but when you meet them, it's maybe the opposite of being so great, Some people can espouse great philosophical teachings, great levels of moral ethics, but unfortunately they're not necessarily on the highest levels of ethical behavior themselves. The great rabbis quoted in the Pirkei Avot, for instance, the quote, the teaching we will be quoted this evening of Rabban Gamliel, was not something that he just said. Hu Haya Omer. Of course, the simple interpretation is he would constantly say this. There are certain teachings which is so much a part of the person. If you've ever had the privilege of studying closely under the tutelage of a certain great rabbi, for instance, I have had that privilege. And sometimes one feels that it doesn't matter what they're learning. Somehow there are some basic teachings. You could be studying any section of Torah, any chapter of Torah, and somehow that message just surfaces all the time. Hu Haya Omer. This is one of the main teachings of Rabban Gamliel. It doesn't mean not Rabban Gamliel Amar or Amar Rabban Gamliel. Hu Haya Omer probably should be translated as he would often say, or he would constantly say. Hu Haya Omer. Asay ritzono kiritzon necha. Carry out God's will. Fulfill the will of God as you would carry out your own will. When you want to do something, so you're very motivated to do it, because that's ritzon necha. Well, let's say you're not so motivated to do it. Maybe this is not ritzon necha, but it's ritzon Hashem. So asay ritzono. Asay ritzono. Carry out the teachings of God as expressed in the divine will. Kiritzonecha. Maybe when you carry out that which you want to do, you're so excited. You're so happy. You're so, filled with jubilation because you're finally getting to celebrate that which is important to you, or to carry out that which is important to you. How about when you carry out God's will? Do you do it chas v'shalom, in a certain sense of sadness, in a certain sense of wrote, or okay, I'll fulfill the obligation, but no real joy there. I say ritzono, kirtzonecha. Do it, fulfill it in a fashion, as the Tosfot Yom Tov writes. He says, "Hakavana shelo ta'aseh ha-mitzvah, ba'af v'chema v'itzvon lev, sishvet zayin hayir, so difficult to Shabbat, Yom Tov, Pesach, Tefillin, that's Seir Sono, Kirin Sonecha, Kirin Sonecha. Is that the way? Is that the way you do things? When you want it, he says, Ela Biratzon. I'm reading Tosfot Yom Tov. Ela Biratzon u'v'simchat leiv. With real feeling, like you really want to do it. You know, one of the questions we have Pesach coming up in a few weeks. So one of the questions that's recorded in the Torah, which we refer to in the Haggadah, is the son that's whatever the word means. You know, not yet righteous. Maybe someday. I hope way before the Seder. You know, the Rasha. The Rasha is asking like, Ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. Ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. Which probably is translated in most places as, what is all this service? What's this great service? Avodah, like Hashem v'ta avodah l'dvir beitecha. But if you look at the Talmud Yerushalmi, they translate avodah as connected to the tedious labor, the torach, the tircha, the avodah, the heaviness. And Jews, God forbid, who don't learn the joy of Judaism. I'm not making fun, God forbid. If I am, I apologize. I understand that there are people struggling to see the joy in certain aspects of Judaism. And I know that there are many people who find aspects of Torah to be very difficult to carry out. But in the ideal sense, aseh ritzono kiritzonecha. When you carry out Ritzon Hashem, I think Rabbi Miller used to give the example of someone who comes to the Beit HaKnesset and is so bored that they start falling asleep 2 minutes after they start the service, and that's after coming late 45 minutes into the prayers, and then they go out for Kiddush club, and may all the Kiddush clubs be blessed, but maybe it'd be done in there. They're so tired. How bored can they be? They just walked in. He says you don't see people coming to matinee plays and start yawning. I mean, they're very excited. Some people get there early. They want to they have to study the what's it called, the playbill, yeah, and then if somebody, God forbid, talks, well, you can't talk in the middle of a recital.
We paid money.
What?
We paid money for that.
Yeah, because it's Ritzoni. That's what I really want to see these. I want to really see these performers. So maybe the attitude. Of course, one should say how great it is that they came to the synagogue. I mean, that itself is beautiful. Not everybody goes to the Beit HaKnesset. Let's say you go to the Beit HaKnesset, all you do there is sleep. That's also something. I mean,
such a holy bedroom you have.
Yeah, no, I mean, and if someone walks into a perfume factory, the rabbis compare certain religious experiences. So, let's say if someone walks through a square block perfume factory, they walk in through the northern entrance, and they go out the southern exit. Right? They walk the whole. Even if they don't touch anything, some of the sweet scent will be absorbed. So sit in the Beit Knesset is also great. But maybe I say no. Maybe each of us has to work on this in his or her own way, to carry out the will of Hashem, the way that we carry out our own, to be as excited about religious commandments as we are about the pursuits which are our own interests. And maybe we should be spending, or at least our attitude towards money, if the religious obligation requires a certain financial investment. So let's say if a person spent, I don't know, $1 million on their dream house. Yes, it's beautiful. Ritzoni, right? Ritzoncha. Your Ritzon was the house of my dreams. Now, do you ever meet someone who, when they go to buy the mezuzah scrolls, supposed to put a mezuzot on every door, and they ask how much of the mezuzot. $1 million house, right? $1 million house. And now there's going to be a sign in each room with the name of the landlord. God's name will be in every, Chavtam Amuzuzot Beitecha Bisharecha. You think it's your Beitecha? What's this? Every room has like a little sign. And this is a true story. I don't want to say anything negative about Am Yisrael. It's a true story. I'm sure it just comes from ignorance, nothing else. I was in a certain city, not in Eretz Yisrael, and it was in a certain store where they sell mezuzot, and someone walked in, and had said that they just purchased a new home, and they were told to buy mezuzot, and the sofer or whoever he was there, he took out the parchments. He said a different price range. The cheapest one he had was, I think, $75. It was, I don't know what the going rate is. And the person, was that $75 for a little piece of parchment. And I think she needed maybe 20 parchments, 20 mezuzot. So he said, look, maybe you take 20, $70, $1,400 on She said, what about the covers? How much, this is a true story, really happened. What about the covers? So I said, I have all kinds of different covers. I said, how about, so they had like plastic. He said, $1 each or something, So do I need any? I'll just buy the I'll just buy the outer covers, and no one will know what's inside of it. So here's a person. Hashem should bless her. I don't know what she did at the end, but I was in the store. And, I'm sure she has the most muhudarot mezuzot anywhere in the world today. I don't know who she is, but but if a person can spend so much money on a house, may all the homes be blessed. Don't you think the Ritzono should be like Ritzonacha? I'm not saying you should spend $1 million on mezuzot, but you don't have to necessarily. That's not where you have to cut the corners. That's not where you have to save your money on the religious pursuits. I think it once came to Rabbi Shach Zatzal, the famous Rosh Yeshiva of Padovich. May God bless his soul. So they came to Rav Shach and they said, people are spending tremendous sums of money on lulavim and etrogim. Hundreds of dollars for an etrog. Maybe the Rav should issue maybe there should be what's it called, like a ceiling, how do you say anything? What?
A cap.
A cap, right? A cap. No, you can't charge more than a certain amount of money for an etrog. People spend. So Rav Shach didn't want to do it the way I read the story. He said, "This is one of I'm not saying necessarily that the etrog is really worth all the money that they're paying, but they're spending so much money on Ritzonam now that they're doing Ritzon Hashem. It's beautiful that they're using the money. May the money be used for religious pursuits. Asay Ritzono, Kiritzonacha. Maybe you should have the same attitude towards spending money on charity, towards spending money on good deeds, towards spending money on assisting people, towards spending money on buying matzot. We have the season of matzot. In some parts of the world, matzot are very expensive. Some part of the world it's difficult to find matzot. But if we could just take the attitude that this is the Ritzon Hashem, Aseh Ritzono Kiritzonacha, Kidei Sheyaseh Ritzonacha Kiritzono. Very poetic. Kidei Sheyaseh Ritzonacha Kiritzono. If you follow God's will as if it is your will, then God will follow your will as if it is God's will. It's a beautiful poetic Hebrew here, right? Aseh Ritzono Kiritzonecha. I don't know, do we have any expressions? This is I think it's one of the most poetic expressions that we came across so far in Pirkei Avot. Is that correct? This is right. Aseh Ritzono kirtzoncha, kidei she'aseh ritzoncha kirtzono. Almost like reciprocity. You know, reciprocity. Reciprocity. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this reciprocal relationship. Reciprocal is okay? Thank you. So this idea of you try to carry out God's will with passion, and God will carry out, so to speak, your will, passionately as well and lovingly as well. And maybe the next line, batel ritzoncha mipnei ritzona. Batel ritzoncha mipnei ritzona. Maybe sometimes you really want to do something. You really want to do something, but maybe you shouldn't want to do that. And you nullify your own will. You humble your own will before the will of God. So then God, kidei sheyivatel ritzon acherim mipnei ritzonacha. Your will stand supreme in many situations. And it's not difficult, it's not easy for a person to be mivatel ritzonam. If a person is very determined to carry out something. But maybe if a person understands that this violates the will of God, then they should be able to change the course, change the pathway of their activities, and say, even though I would like to pursue A, B, or C, the Ritzon Hashem is otherwise, and Batel Ritzonacha. I nullify my own will before the will of God. The question that has to be discussed in this Mishnah is whether the question that has to be discussed in this Mishnah is whether there's a problem with Ratzon. It says here Batel Ritzonecha, not Batel Ma'asecha, but Batel Ritzonecha. Batel Ritzonecha seems to be changing that which you want, that which you desire, that which you're interested in doing. Batel Ritzonecha. Now this is an interesting expression to me, because I would think that what's important is the action. In other words, you want, let's say, God forbid, here's a person who very much wants to eat bread, but it's Pesach, right? So Batel Ritzonecha. Says, because generally speaking, you can't. So okay, you want to travel today. It's much easier for you to travel today to visit your cousin, but it's Shabbat. So Batel Ritzonecha. You know, you're interested in wearing this garment, but the garment is not kosher because it's Shabbat days. It's has certain combinations of wool. But so you can't wear it until you remove the shatnez. I remember reading about the great recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. And they found shatnez in his
special seat.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, there are not many shatnez laboratories in the middle of
Norway.
Yeah. So Sweden or Norway? Maybe Sweden. Where's the
Nobel Guild?
Also Sweden? Yes, I think so. So he sent it back to Yerushalayim. They found shatnez in it. He said, I can't wear it. You have to wear a certain kind of, it was like a tux. What is it? Like tails or something.
Tails.
Yeah, they found shatnez in it, and they took out the shatnez. He said, why can't you wear it? I read this in the papers. We have laws about what kind of jackets you wear. Yeah, but this is a ceremony. I won't wear it. And they sent it back all the way to the shatnez laboratory in Yerushalayim, time to get it back in time for the ceremony. They removed the shatnez. Batel, I want to wear it. It's a beautiful suit. Yeah, Batel. So what's interesting to me, intriguing to me, is the word ritzonecha. If it would say Batel Ma'asecha, mipnei ritzono, change your actions, nullify you're not allowed to do certain actions. The ritzonecha sounds almost as if that which you want. Is it a problem with that which you want, or is it only a problem with that which you do? And I just like to refer to the introduction of the Rambam, the Maimonides' introduction to our great Sefer, in the 8th chapter. It's called the Shmona Prakim La Rambam. In his introduction to Pirkei Avot, it's printed in the standard editions of the Talmud. Let's say the Shas Vilna. It's printed in the back of Masechet Avodah Zarah, where they print Masechet Avot with the commentary of the Rambam. It's printed as part of the introduction of the Rambam to Pirkei Avot. 8 beautiful chapters, which should be studied very carefully. In the 6th of those chapters, chapter 6, the Rambam discusses, well, what exactly, it's almost a philosophical query, what exactly is the highest level of the service of God? Is it a nullification of an interest in doing evil? Or is it wanting to do certain negative actions and overcoming the temptation? And he goes back and forth. It's beautiful. Be'efresh asher bein hachasid ha'me'uleh uvein ha'koveh shetitzro v'hamoshel b'nafsho. And he says that in Torah, he quotes here philosophers, Greek philosophers, others, who had a certain understanding that if something is evil, then you shouldn't want to do it at all. It should be removed from your... And then he says in Torah we find such sources, but then we find in certain sources a person should not say, ugh, I don't want to eat pork. EFC, al yomar EFC lechol chazir. Why not? If chazir, if certain forms of pig, if certain forms of pork are prohibited by Torah for Jews, so why is it the highest level? EFC, I don't want chazir. Ugh, I have no interest in chazir. Yet the Rambam says that we find in several places the rabbis did not say that. When it comes to some kind of if you had a chance to study it, maybe someday we'll discuss it. But in Perek Shishi of the Shmona Prakim, it comes to some kind of compromise that in certain intuitive issues, a person shouldn't want to walk around all day. God forbid, wanting to steal and wanting to murder. That's obvious, he says. But something which is only prohibited as a result of God's teaching, maybe the higher level would be a certain level of, yes, I'm interested, but I won't do it because of God. Now how does that fit with Batel Ritzoncha? You understand what I'm asking? Batel Ritzoncha sounds like nullify your Ratzon, not just your... is this any way connected to the Rambam's? Is any way connected to the Rambam's teaching or not? Depends on how you understand the Mishnah. But there is such a thing called the pure Ratzon as well, the pure desire. The Rambam mentions such an approach, and I guess if a person will reach the higher level of the service of Hashem, then they will be able to nullify.
We assume the two concepts are contradictory, meaning it's Batel Ritzoncha, but you have Ritzon. But Batel Ritzoncha, the same way.
So how would you translate Batel?
Chametz, we say have a Batel, have a Kafra. Does it mean it doesn't exist? In Yanenu, it doesn't exist.
So just help me out with the English then. Batel Ritzoncha, yes, you're entitled to. Batel Bitzua Ritzoncha is what you say, right? Nullify carrying out your will. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
It's not in the words, right?
Right.
It's not in the words. But you follow what I'm asking? Is Batel Ritzoncha mean? So now I shouldn't even want that. Ritzono Shel Hashem is the Jews should eat only kosher. So I should have no interest. My Ritzon should not be at least.
Right.
What the Rambam brings all these examples, He says it doesn't say Ef Shila Al Yomar Adam Ef Shila Haro Ef Shila Gnov Ef Shila. He doesn't say I wish I could lie and I wish I could steal. Those levels he considers perfect. So what would be your translation of Batel Ritzoncha?
So Ritzoncha.
You're entitled to Ritzoncha.
But how do we? What are the other contexts where we have Batel? So Batel could be nullify, like in the face of, so nullify in the face of, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means Kineged Ritzon Hashem as Batel, meaning like I really like chametz. I really like chametz. It's not asur to eat chametz. It's not asur to eat chametz on Pesach.
Is it a higher level to want to eat bread on Pesach.
So,
And let's say we have 7 days of Pesach coming up, in a few weeks, right? Bezrat Hashem. And outside of Israel, 8 days. So should a person walk around thinking, oh, I wish I had a hero sandwich right now. I wish I, is that, and okay, God says eat matzah. I'm eating matzah, I'm eating the thin matzah crackers. Or is a higher level. But tell me, what are you talking about? What are you talking about bread now? This is Pesach. Which is a higher level. So after study, I don't think that's the way most people walk. I don't think that's the way most people. Should a person want to drive to shul on Shabbat? May Hashem bless all the people trying to get to the synagogue. Should be able to do so, in the safest, happiest, healthiest, and holiest way.
Maybe
Another
to the hospital to deliver babies.
Or they could have home births if they want. But whatever it is, they should all be healthy. But the question is, should a person, let's say they're walking, there was somebody in the house that walked 2.5 miles every Shabbat to the shul. So here's this person walking 2.5 miles to shul, let's say in the cold of winter, in the heat of summer. Is the higher level as they're walking these 2.5 miles. And there are taxis and limousines and cars and buses, and they're all passing by. Is it a higher level to say, I just wish it says so an air conditioner. I wish I could go into that car and just no. It's Shabbat. I'm going to be walking to the synagogue. Oh, it's freezing. That they have such a. I'm shivering. Or to say, no, I'm not. I don't need cars. It's Shabbat. That's part of the discussion. You say that we could read the Mishnah either way.
Batzel is an interesting word.
Right. Okay. So
where else do we have the word? Is it like Ikar and Tafel is Batzel like Tafel, that like it exists, but there's an Ikar. There's a more pressing need. Or does it mean that no, it's Kilo Lo Kayam if it's Batzel?
May Hashem help each of us find the proper level of Ratzon. The letters of Ratzon are the same letters as Sinar. The divine connection sending through the pipeways to Ratzon Hashem, through the Sinar of blessing. May all the Sinarot be filled with the Ratzon Hashem.
Rachel Chatan
Rachel Chatan on YouTube.
Yeah,
absolutely. The man speaking here is one of the greatest. But you should give them a blessing. I'm sorry. This should stay forever. Bezrat Hashem, Rav Baruch, one of the greatest rabbis in the United States, Bezrat Hashem, on the way to Eretz Israel with his holy kala. They just got engaged, and Bezrat Hashem, all gateways of bracha. Someone's name is connected to bracha, so of course they're the makor of bracha, and v'siyata d'shmaya, the engagement, the marriage of these two great people should be on the highest level of any marriage in world history since Adam and Chava, and their home should be the home filled with the bracha of Hashem, Lo Amen, with the Ratzon Hashem, because they have the great Ratzon to do that which is proper in the eyes of Hashem. Thank you so much for listening. Shalom Uvracha.